This is Simon. Oh, Jellybean's jealous. I'm actually putting him back in his cage. But hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Alita. These are my books. And this is Simon. He's my hamster. I just cleaned his cage, so he got to run around in his ball. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to do March's wrap up. In the month of March, I read 18 books. So, like I said, I read 18 books. And out of the 18, 5 of them were 5 stars. And then in addition to the 18 that I finished, I also DNF'd 3. This is a jelly bean. Okay, we're going to ignore the elephant in the room this time. Yes, I just called you an elephant. As always, I'm going to start with my DNFs, then my 1 stars, 2 stars, 3 stars, and slowly we get, all the way to 5 stars. I only have 1 star, but let's start with my DNFs. I have 3 DNFs technically. So I put 3 stars on Goodreads for Dangerous Angels because I had a bind up of 5, and I read the first 2.5, and I thought the first one was really good. The second one was okay, and the third one I just lost interest, so I kind of DNF'd it from there. But I felt like I'd read enough of it to rate it, and it wasn't terrible, I was just getting bored. Then I DNF'd and unhauled 2 authors that I will no longer be reading. The first one is Chevy Stevens. I read Those Girls last year. Loved that book. Then I read Still Missing. Liked that book, but I thought that there's this thing that happens, there's this trope that happens, and I can't tell you because spoilers, but I feel like she does that in all of her books. And then the third one that I tried to read was That Night by Chevy Stevens. I tried to read that in the month of March, and just it wasn't vibing with me. I just don't really love her writing, and that's okay. And then another controversial opinion that I have is that I unhauled all of my Stephen King books. So I was supposed to read Cujo in the month of March, and I DNF'd it and unhauled everything by this author. I absolutely love Pet Sematary, and that is always going to have an amazingly special place in my heart, but I cannot vibe with his writing either, and I'm not going to keep pretending that I can. My one-star book the only 1-star book that I read in March was actually a shame because it's been on my TBR for so long, and I really, really, really thought I would love it, and I didn't. Absolutely hated it. So, Neverworld Wake by Marisha Tessel. I'm so sorry. I know I'm the unpopular opinion here, but I felt like it was trying to be too many things. There was a slasher element that I really liked. There was fantasy elements that just took me out of the story. There was sci-fi stuff, and it was just weird, okay? It had a true identity crisis. Now we're moving on up in the world. So we have 3 2-star books. If you want my full thoughts, go watch this vlog of me reading it like Heather from Belle's Library. That was a very fun video to make, but unfortunately I did not love With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. Like, to me, a story has to have problems. It has to have some kind of plot, and this book had no plot, and it was just some made-up teenage drama. And Amani, I think her name's Amani, I didn't like her. Lost Boy by Christina Henry. I've wanted to read a Christina Henry retelling forever, and I found one at the bookstore. I bought it. I read it within the same couple of days. I have no desire to ever read another Christina Henry retelling. Honestly, I just didn't care, but it was Peter Pan, if you didn't know that. And then Butterface by Avery Flynn. Just no. So I went into this thinking that it was going to be a romance, and it kind of is, but it's really not. And it pitches itself as this isn't Cinderella, I'm not a princess, it's not a fairy tale. And yeah, I agree with that. It's not a Cinderella story, it's not Cinderella. So it's about this cop and this mob sister, her family is in the mob, and it's a romance, kind of. Is it a romance? I honestly don't know. But it was just confusing. Now let's move on to the 3 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 3 stars this month. That's my first 3 star. My least favorite 3 star was my Besties X by Piper Rain. It was fine. It was just, most of my 3 stars this month are very underwhelming. I just thought this would be a little bit spicier, a little bit more forbidden, and it wasn't. It's just this girl dates her best friend's ex, and she doesn't want to like him, but she falls for him. Then I have a reread for me, which was Hold Still by Nina LaCour. Technically, I didn't finish this the second time around, but it was a must read, and because I've already read it and I already knew what happened, I just went back and reread my favorite parts. So you follow Ingrid and Caitlin. Ingrid commits suicide, and Caitlin is left to piece her life back together without her best friend, and the only thing she has left are these notes that Caitlin left behind. The notes were very intriguing and really spoke to me, but the rest of the story didn't hit me as much as I wanted it to. Then I read The Shadows by Alex North, which is one that my friend Amanda has been telling me to read for a while, and I can understand the recommendation. It is very reminiscent of The Chalkman by C.J. Tudor. However, I like the Chalk Man more than I liked the Shadows. I felt like the Shadows follows a bunch of unlikable people, and sometimes that's okay in books, but generally speaking, I have to see some kind of likable quality or connect with the characters somehow, and I just didn't with these ones, so that was my problem, but I can understand why other people would really love this book. Then, Bad Girls Never Say Die. I won this on Bookish first, and it's basically like this reimagining of the Outsiders with an all-female cast of characters. It's very feminist. It was okay. I think it would have done better if it didn't pitch itself as a reimagining of The Outsiders, because The Outsiders is one of my favorite modern classics that I've ever read, and I can see how it was maybe inspired by The Outsiders a little bit, but I didn't get that oomph, that magic, that rivalry, that drama of The Outsiders. I just kind of felt like it fell flat for me. The last 2 3-star books that I read I just found them very underwhelming, and they are BookTube darlings, so I'm very much the unpopular opinion again. Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Oswego and Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. I just thought that they were fine reads. I didn't really connect to either of them. And Clap When You Land is very beautifully written, and I can see how Heartstopper might help the certain person or people in a similar situation. It does have really amazing representation, but for me, it just didn't work as well. But again, it's probably because I couldn't connect to it. I just thought that they were fine reads. They were good, but they're not as good as all the hype surrounding them. And then I have 2 4-star books. So the first 4-star book of the month of March is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I was very surprised that I liked this book. I was certain I wasn't gonna like this. I was really scared to read it. But it follows these 2 characters. Is it Pippi and Chad? Those are not the right names. I apologize. I don't remember their names. But they have gone on vacation together every year until 5 years ago, and now they talk once in a while, and they decide to take one more final trip together because it's their thing, it's what their friendship is based on. And through alternating chapters, you get what is happening right now to what happened in the past and what led up to their breakup, or I guess not their breakup because they were friends, but their pitfall, what happened, why are they not friends anymore? And it was cute. It was unexpectedly adorable, and I absolutely love the main character, even though I can't remember her name. And I very much so kind of felt nostalgic for a lost friendship. It's pitched as a romance, but I don't think you should go into this book thinking that it's a romance. I think you should go in thinking that it's about like lost friendships and rekindling a friendship. Because if I would have gone in with that expectation, this would have been a 5 out of 5 stars. And then my last 4-star book was Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. I've never read Rachel Hawkins as Rachel Hawkins. I know that she also writes as Erin Sterling, which I have read from. But Rachel Hawkins writes thrillers, and this is an adult thriller in which you follow this girl and her boyfriend. Her boyfriend gets like invited to basically be like this cruise or this ship captain to take these tourists to this abandoned island, and they invite his girlfriend, and his girlfriend comes along, and then all this terrible stuff happens when they're on this island. It's like isolated island, creepy things happen, and even before the creepy things happen, there's drama. And you know what? I enjoyed it. Was it what I was expecting? No, because I thought that it was like a and then they were a nun retelling, and I don't really get that vibe from it. But I did really enjoy this isolated thriller that just really made me so mad. Now we are at the 5-star reads. Before we get to my 5-star, I'm going to insert my nonfiction book of the month here, because if I were to actually read nonfiction, this would have been a 5-star read. This would have been my favorite book of the month. But because I don't read nonfiction, I'm not letting myself do that. I don't think it's fair if I don't rate any other nonfiction and then I rate this one 5 stars and it becomes potentially a favorite of the year. How fair is that? So I might talk about it on my favorites of 2022. I know that's several months away, but I'm already planning. So this is The Killer Across the Table: Unlocking the Secrets of Serial Killers and Predators with FBI's Original Mindhunter by John Douglas and Mark Olshacker. Absolutely love this book. So it follows 5 murders. 4 of them are serial killers and 1 of them isn't. But you kind of get in the mind of them, and then you also, this author also references other interviews that are not in this book, but that he remembers vividly interviewing these people because he's interviewed criminals for a very long time. And I just felt like I was in the mind of the psychopath, and it was amazing. So highly, highly recommend. Like I said, it would have been my favorite of the month if I rate nonfiction, but I don't read nonfiction, so that's not fair. Now let's go on to my 5-star reads. So I actually only own 2 of these. My first 5-star read, my least favorite, but still 5 stars, was It Will End Like This by Kira Lee. I think that is her name. I actually got a copy of this from NetGalley. Okay, so Lizzie Borden. It's very much inspired by that, but it's a lot different. And honestly, you are not gonna know what to believe. Like, there was a moment, okay, many moments in this book where I didn't trust anyone. Neither of the sisters, neither, the parent, well, okay, the dad. So essentially you follow these two girls who are sisters, and it's like dual perspective. You get one chapter from one sister and then another chapter from the other sister. In a time like right after their mom dies, and it's kind of like the family moving on, but maybe some of the family doesn't move on. And yeah, I can't really say much more than that. All I can say is I loved this book so much. I felt like I couldn't trust anyone. It had unreliable narrators, and maybe their stories weren't exactly the same, and you have no idea what is going on until the conclusion. So if you're like me and you like a book in which you are like, what the heck is going on, until the very end, and you're like, what? Oh my gosh, mind blowing. So I listened to this one on audio. I had to listen to the end like several times to make sure my mind could not process it. Makeup Breakup by Lily Menon. So this follows Annika and Hudson, who basically had like this 1 week stand. So it's not a one night stand, but it was like a 1 week stand. They were both on vacation in Vegas, and they met, and they just, for 1 week. And I think this is 2 years later. They are both coming out with these apps. One app is called Breakup, and it's Hudson's baby. And it's this relationship app in which if you want to break up with your significant other, you hire Breakup, or you download Breakup and you put in all your details and the relationship and everything, and then someone will go break up with your significant other for you. And Annika is the creator of Makeup, which is an app in which you try and fight for your relationship. You try and make up. And you can see how they're rival companies around the same time. And it's just this really amazing, funny love story. But it has so much more to it. There's so much hard-hitting things in here. Like, specifically with Annika and her dad. And that part just brought me to tears. She fixes people up. He breaks them apart. What chance do they have together? And it's just so adorable. So I highly recommend this. I highly recommend all of my 5 stars, but you do you, boo. Then I read Archie Volume 1. This is like a revamped, reimagined Archie and Jughead, which this is more modern than Archie and Jughead. This is what kind of when Riverdale came out, this came out too. I do want to read the original, but I haven't yet. I really enjoyed this. I might like the TV show just slightly more, but I'm intrigued to continue on with the series. And then, oh my gosh. So I have 2 5-stars left, and I did not know it would be this hard to pick a favorite. So again, we might have a tie for my favorite book. I think we had a tie in the month of January. Yes, in the month of January. Oh, and February. Turns out I cannot pick favorites. So you get to hear me ramble about both of these amazing books, which I do not own but want to. Hint, hint. I'm just kidding. But there's The Guy on the Right by Kate Stewart and The Simple Wild by Kate A. Tucker. I am going to start with The Guy on the Right. This one was listed as a sports romance, and I honestly went into it for a video. I didn't think I would like it, and again, I loved it. So this book follows this guy, Ethan. I feel like that's wrong too. I'm so sorry, I'm terrible at names in books. But you follow this guy who has his profile picture on like Tinder or whatever's equivalent to Tinder in the book world, because, you know, copyright and everything. And he has in his profile pictures like these 4 or 5 people, and he's like, I'm the one on the right, and, you know, there's like an arrow on him, and it was this such a adorable romance. Again, I guess I was just in a romance mood. But you follow him as he kind of is like giving up on love. And of course, when you decide to give up on love, what do you find but love? And it was so funny, and the thing that I really, really loved about this book is that it gave you realistic expectations going into a relationship. Like, a lot of romances have the really grand gestures, and they do these very unrelatable, like, very cliche things. And I'm not saying that romance doesn't exist. I'm just saying that sometimes romance books and romance movies, especially, portray romance as like these big grand gestures and these like really amazing things, but they're not. That's not what romance is. Romance is hard. It's hard work sometimes, because not only do you have to be like in a good place with yourself, but you also have to take care of someone else. And, you know, if my husband's having a bad day or a bad time, then I gotta pick up his slack. And vice versa. When I'm having an off day, he's gotta pick up my slack. And it's more realistic. It's like, okay, you're feeling depressed for some reason or another. Let's talk about it. It's, you know, the days that I don't feel good and he brings me soup in bed. Or, you know, it's just being there, being 100% with your significant other. And I feel like that's why I don't read a lot of romance until recently, because I feel like it's all, you know, it's too big. Sometimes I want a realistic expectation for romance. And this book does it perfectly. So if you're kind of a skeptic of romance books for the reasons that I'm a skeptic of romance books, pick this one up. It is so cute. And it didn't go like over the top, but it was real and I liked it. Okay, and my last 5-star read was The Simple Wild, like I said. So I went into this for that same video that I was just talking about. I thought this was a young adult romance, but I was wrong. So this follows Callie. It's not Callie, but I'm really close. I told you, terrible. But you follow her as she's like in her mid-20s, and she is finally trying to get a relationship with her father. Not really by choice, but kind of being forced because she finds out that her dad is dying of cancer. So again, this is a coming of age, meeting your father kind of for the first time, but not really. You know, you have to read it to figure out what I mean by that. But it's also like a hate to love romance, and the chemistry between the two that fall in love, and the bickering and the angst is amazing. What I really, really, really loved about The Simple Wild is that it has so many layers. So Alaska, it's set in Alaska. Alaska felt like a character in itself. It kind of felt isolated and dark, and it has layers with her and with Callie and her dad, and with Callie and Jonah and their relationship, and as it blossoms and then comes crashing down, or you know, things like that. And it just, I felt the heartbreak and I felt the pain, and I listened to this one on audiobook as well, and I listened to the end of it. Well, like, it sets up the end so well. Like, you kind of already see what's gonna happen, and in that vlog you could tell when I was like at that point where I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna be terrible. And then I put my audiobook away. I taught all day. I went home and I listened to the rest of that audiobook, and I cried and I cried and I cried and I sobbed. I really don't. I probably sobbed more for The Simple Wild than I did Breakup. Oh my gosh, I was so emotional, and I loved everything that book did to me. So, you know, altogether, I don't think I had a terrible reading month. I had a lot of fun reading for this vlog. It should already be linked. And I might have found a couple of new favorites. I definitely found a couple of new favorites. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you're new around here. We're always talking bookish things.